Alright, we just parked our car. I'm going to head over here and check the Windsock. Looks like it's runway 25 for today. We're here at Whiskey Bravo Whiskey, Wilkes-Barre, Wyoming Valley, my home field, and we're going to stay in first person for today's flight. We're going to walk down the sidewalk here and we'll check the Windsock that's up on the FBO. And that also agrees with 2.5. Bit of a light wind, looks pretty good. Looks like a nice day to fly. We've got live weather and live time. Up here on the left is the ladder that I like to use when I'm checking the fuel on top of the wings. And straight ahead is the Cessna Skylane C182 RG2 that we'll be doing our flight in today. Today we're doing a subscriber request for real-life pilot Mall Flyer RV 100 flying to 3 Papa Alpha 2 Philadelphia Glider Council, which is a private airfield a little bit north of the Philadelphia Bravo. It should be an awesome flight, so let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. Often when all of the aircraft are going up for a time slot, they'll spill over into these parking spots, and this is usually where I find 80471, which is the C172 I like to fly. So heading down here, all of our switches are off, our circuit breakers are in, our parking brake is set, our avionics are off, mixture to idle cutoff, throttle to idle. Our transponder we'll set to 1200, so we're squawking VFR. Flaps are up, car beats in. Head down here, we'll adjust the trim wheel for takeoff. Our cowl flaps are open. Fuel selector will rotate through each position. Make sure that it goes off. It does. Bring it back to the center position. That all looks good. Let's open up the window. It's pretty warm in here today. It feels better to have a little bit of air. Now head back down here. Turn on the battery and the alternator. Check our fuel quantity left and right, and we do have full fuel tanks for today's trip, so that looks good. Next, we'll head over to the switches, turn on the beacon to let them know that we are getting ready to start the engine. Bring the mixture into full rich, crack the throttle, or prime it. 1, 2, 3 strokes of the primer. Check that our prop area is clear. Clear prop. Feet on the brakes, keys in the ignition, and we'll crank it over. We got engine start, check our oil pressure, and we do have oil pressure. Adjust our RPMs. And then we can lean the mixture for ground operations. Alright, that looks good. Bringing on the avionics. Garmin's booting up. Check the compass and calibrate the directional gyro to the compass. Looks like it's set. Attitude indicator is adjusted. That looks good. Head back over here and we can start dialing in COM2 frequencies. So we'll put 121.5, which is guard, on COM2, and then we'll put 135.75, which is AVP's ATIS, on standby. Now in real life with the Garmin's, when you hit enter, it goes through a calibration routine. It's not modeled here. I would like that. It would add a little bit of flavor. We'll finish setting up our frequencies. We're dialing 135.75 onto COM2 standby for the ATIS. That looks good. Now we'll head up here and we'll get 122.8, which is CTAF for Whiskey Bravo Whiskey. And we'll set 120.905, which is Wilkes-Barre Approach, on standby for COM1. And that should set up our radios. Next we'll set up our nav radios because we're going to use VOR navigation for today's flight. So we'll head back to the Garmin and we'll toggle from COM to nav radio by pushing in on the knob. And we're almost set up for the right frequency, so we're going to toggle that over and set up at 110.20, then toggle that back to primary. That is the East Texas Echo Tango X-Ray VOR, and you can see that the Garmin identifies it. Our flight plan takes us to Hazleton, Tamaqua, and from there we will intercept 325 radial from East Texas VOR. The direction we'll fly on that radial is 180 degrees opposite of that. So you could do the math, but an easy way is just to go over to the HSI and put the tail of the yellow arrow on 325. 180 degrees will be where the arrow points, which will be the direction we're flying. which is 145. So we just turn the HSI knob until the arrow lines up with 145, and we're good. Today's flight will be a little bit longer because I'm going to explain what I'm doing a little bit more, which is what some viewers have asked for. So now I think we're ready to toggle over to ATIS and get the weather.
Asian Papa 1754 Zulu. Wind 260 at 7. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, clear. Temperature 29er. Dew point 17. Altimeter 3012. Density altitude 2600 feet.
Wyoming Valley traffic, Skylane 2817 Echo, taxi from the ramp to runway 25 Wyoming Valley. Alright, we'll check that we are clear on our left, looks good. Clear on our right, looks good. We're going to leave that window open for taxi because it is hot in here. Release the parking brake. And as we head forward, we'll check our brakes to make sure they work. There you go, brakes work. And we're going to hang a right. And just like real life, if you look ahead, you can see that there's a student pre-flighting their plane. Alright, we're going to pull up here and do our run-up before doing a back taxi on 25. We'll park here into the wind. Parking brake is on. Mixture coming into full rich. Check that our flight controls are free and correct. Elevator up, elevator down. Right aileron down. Left aileron down. We'll bring the throttle up to 1,700 and we'll do the run-up. And this is a shortened run-up I do for my videos, not the complete run-up. So we'll start with mag left. And we've got a good drop. Back up. Comes back up. Mag right. Good drop. Back up. And car beat. And this is awesome. Car beat's on. And there it is. You get about a 50 RPM drop with car beat. Put it back in, comes back up, it even lags a little until you see the drop. Bravo, Carenado, almost nobody else models that. Alright, it's time to get our doors and windows secured for our departure. That looks good. But before we do that, let's open up these vents, pull that one out, turn it towards me, and we'll pull the other one out. We won't get any air really until we get up to speed, but it is warm and I'm sweating. So as we back taxi, I will take you through the flight brief. So we are departing from Whiskey Bravo Whiskey, which is a non-towered field. We're going to fly to Cary Ave Bridge and then fly a heading past Hazleton Airport to Tamaqua. At Tamaqua, we're going to intercept the 325 radial from East Texas. That's the VOR that we set up. We'll overfly the VOR. We'll be able to see the distance on our Garmin to the VOR and also see it flip when we overfly it. And then we'll fly another radial, which is 158 from East Texas VOR to Green Lane Reservoir, which is a nice big visual waypoint. And once we arrive at Green Lane Reservoir, then we're going to fly our final heading, which will take us direct to the field. Hopefully when we get there and check out the windsock, the wind is favoring runway 826. There are multiple grass strips, but 826 is the 2,350 foot one. The other strips are considerably shorter, ranging from 1,400 to 1,800 feet long. Philadelphia Glider Council is, not surprisingly, a glider field. You can see the glider icon right near the field, and it's also private. That's the PVT, so you do need permission to land there. It's not a public airport. Now if we zoom back out to Whiskey Bravo Whiskey, we can check the current weather in the forecast, and we can see that it's 250 at 7, but it's variable, 210 to 270. And as we look at future, it's increasing in wind 8 to 17, 12 to 20, so it's going to get windier as the day goes by. 3 Papa Alpha 2 doesn't have its own weather, but if we click on a nearby field, we can see it's variable at 5, view at 5,000, and we've got some cloud layers with mild wind as the day goes on. Now we do have an active TFR to be mindful of, and if we click on it, we can see the details for it. And as you scroll down through this, it's one of those that has a threat of deadly force that may be used against you if you violate it, meaning you can be intercepted by jet fighters. So we are going to be sure not to do that. Alright, we're all lined up. Let's make our CTAF call. Wyoming Valley traffic, Skylane 2817 Echo, departing runway 25. We'll be doing a straight out departure, climbing to 4,500 Wyoming Valley. Alright, everything looks good. Full power. Gauges look good. RPMs look good. little left rudder. We're kind of losing center line here. And airspeed's alive. Coming up on our rotate speed. And rotate. Alright. I could sense the wind here just from the way the plane's moving back and forth. You can see it rocking a little bit there as I try to straighten out and keep runway center line. Alright, we're going to climb clear of the field, and once we get maybe about a mile west of the field and up to about 1,200 feet or so, then I'll be ready to switch over to Wilkes-Barre Approach and pick up flight following. Our first waypoint will be the Carriaft Bridge. Wilkes-Barre Approach, Skyline 2817 Echo, 3 miles west, Whiskey Bravo Whiskey at 2,000. We'd like flight following, destination 3 Papa Alpha 2 at 4,500.
00 Bravo, read that correct. November 00 Bravo, requesting IFR clearance to Tri-Cities with Information Hotel.
Skylane 2817, Echo, Wilkes-Barre Approach, Squawk 3622, and ident.
3622 and ident, Skyline 2817 Echo. The flight school where I rent my Cessnas from has an agreement with Wilkes-Barre Approach to have fixed squawk codes for each plane. There's a sticker with the squawk code, so Approach will simply tell you, go to your company code, and you can just use the fixed squawk code.
Skylane 17 Echo, radar contact. 3 southwest of Wilkes-Barre, Wyoming Valley Airport at 2900 feet. Wilkes-Barre altimeter 30.09er.
Position checks 3009er, Skyline 17 Echo. That's the Market and Pierce Street bridges connecting to Wilkes-Barre off our left. You can just see the Carriaft Bridge coming into view in front of the strut here. And whenever I'm departing to the south via Hazleton, I always like to fly to the Carriaft Bridge first before turning south, and the reason is there are some wind turbines and radio towers that are closer to the field right at the top of the mountain, and if I make the turn here, I can avoid all of them and I don't need to overfly them. So we're turning on to our initial heading, and we're going to fly this heading directly to Tamaqua. We've got some nice visual waypoints to help us. There's Wilkes-Barre with those 2 bridges I just mentioned, and we've got a lot of air noise coming in that I can hear in the cabin here, and I suspect it's from these vents. So let's try closing them, and there it is, the air noise went away. I like that that's modeled, that's very cool, but now it's going to get hot in here. Although sky conditions were clear, we do have some clouds overhead here, so we'll be mindful of those for our ceilings. There's a closer look at those towers just near Crystal Lake. Coming up on our left is a gathering of white buildings, which is Crestwood Industrial Park. I also use that as a visual waypoint. Just to our right is the intersection of Interstate 80 and 81, which is a VFR reporting point. On our left, we're passing the Lake of the Four Seasons, and we're just overflying KHCL. You can see the runway just behind the strut here. The gray mountain to our left is the old Hazleton Shaft Strip Mine, which is a remnant from the coal mining area. Those are everywhere around where I live.
Departure, flight 6, climbing 6,000. Flight 6, Wilkes-Barre departure, radar contact, clear direct Binghamton. Skylane 17 Echo, contact New York Center on 121.325.
Over to New York Center on 121.325, Skyline 17 Echo. New York Center, Skyline 2817 Echo, 4,500.
Skyline 2817. Echo, New York Center. Good afternoon, Hazleton altimeter 30.18.
3018, 17 Echo. Alright, we're arriving at Tamaqua, which means we're going to intercept our East Texas VOR radial. Remember, that was the 325 radial from East Texas VOR, which is the 145 radial 2. So we're going to turn onto heading 145, which is the heading we want to fly. And we're going to watch for the needle to center up on the HSI. You can see we're a little bit left of center, so we're going to turn about 10 to 20 degrees to the right of the course until we intercept the needle, and then bring our heading back to 145. The needle's centering up. And We're there. So now I can head to the autopilot, switch it from heading mode to nav mode. I have the GPS changed from GPS to V-lock on the CDI, so that's coupling the navigation to the nav1 radio. And now the autopilot is going to fly that radial that we've dialed into the HSI. And we are right on track. It's almost impossible to see, but 22 November Jake Arner Airport is in this valley.
Skylane 2817, Echo, New York Center. Contact Allentown Approach on 119.65.
Over to Allentown Approach on 119.65, Skylane 2817 Echo. Allentown Approach, Skylane 2817 Echo, 4,000, descending 3,500.
Skylane 2817 Echo, Allentown departure. Good afternoon. Tamaqua altimeter 30.09er.
3009er, Skylane 17 Echo.
Radar vectors to ETX, Venice filed, climate maintained 4,000. Depart on 124.45, squawk 674300 Bravo.
We're passing by New Tripoli on our left, and it's getting warm again, so let's pop open these vents. That's better.
Cleared to White Birch, radar vectors to toe wind, and is filed, climb maintain 4,000, expect 5,000. Cruise, departure on 124.45, squawk 6733, release for departure, 00 Bravo.
And once again, those are too noisy, so I'm going to close them back up. If you look at the distance on the Garmin, you can see we're at 0.4, now 0.3 miles to East Texas VOR, and it's going to flip when we go over it. So there it is. We went to a flag as we fly over it, and then the arrow is going to point that we are on the from radial. We were on the to radial. So now we're going to turn to our new set point. I've got the heading bug set up, so we've toggled over to heading mode on the autopilot, and we'll intercept the heading. You can see that the HSI needle just swung to the right, so we're to the left of the course that we want to intercept. So once again, we'll take the heading and go maybe 10 degrees right of the heading, turn ourselves towards the needle, and we're just going to let the needle come in. You can see the needle's moving towards the center of the HSI.
At 1 o'clock, 3 miles eastbound, altitude unknown.
And it's setting up pretty quickly, so we're going to get ready and start dialing the heading indicator back to our desired course. And same as last time, as it does that, that'll toggle from heading mode to nav mode on the autopilot, and we've captured the radial. This is Fogelsville off to my left. And you can't hear it, but I have a ForeFlight running, and it just gave me a traffic alert for traffic at 12 o'clock, 2 miles. So I'm going to start looking for that. Still don't have the traffic in sight.
Skylane 17 Echo, traffic at your 12 o'clock, 2 miles at 4500 Cherokee.
Looking for traffic, Skylane 17 Echo. And nice job saying tensions, matched right up with what ForeFlight was saying. On my left here is Butter Valley Golf Course, which is a really interesting golf course in that it has an airport right in the middle of the golf course. You can see the runway right there.
29er, 85, Allentown Approach, 241.811. Allegiant 41811, turn right, heading 240.
That was Green Lane Reservoir just off to our left, and that is our turning point. So we're going to turn just as we get to the end of it, and then fly our heading direct to the field. Alright, we're going to start our turn, and we're also going to start our descent. We're at 3,500, and we want to get to traffic pattern altitude of 1,700 plus 500 equals 2,300. So we're going to descend to 2,300 and overfly the field.
Skylane 17 Echo, frequency change approved.
Alright, we've switched over to 122.9er, which is the generic Unicom when a frequency doesn't have a published CTAF frequency. The field's left of my nose at the 10 o'clock position. It's that green patch. Philadelphia glider traffic, Skylane 17 Echo, overflying midfield at 2,200, inbound for full stop landing, Philadelphia. And we're looking for the Windsock here, and I just can't see it. That runway there, the one that's going left to right, that's the longer one that I hope is in use. And since I can't see it and there's no weather information for the field here, I'm just going to have to make another pass. So just beyond this lake here is the TFR, so we want to make sure that we turn before entering the lake so we don't have a jet fighter escort experience. Okay, keep your eyes peeled as we do another pass over the field, and I've got the windsock this time, and it's pointing that away. And that away means it's pointing towards the short side of runway 26. That's the side that borders the trees and the buildings, so this is going to be interesting. So we're going to maneuver back around because we're on the wrong side of the field here. So we're on the crosswind now for runway 26. Turning downwind for runway 26. We've been making CTAF calls here on 122.9, but I'll just keep talking you through it. And we're lined up pretty well. And we've got our first notch of flaps in, our power's back, car beats down. We're turning base. And we're going to need to do both a short field and a soft field landing, and we've got obstructions pretty much right up to the end of the runway that we're just going to have to clear and then plop right down over. So we're turning final, and we're actually pretty high for final, but we're also pretty far out for final. So I ended up doing an extended downwind, which kind of worked out because I barely lost any altitude here on the base leg. But it's going to be fine because we're going to put in full flaps and pull the power back. My goal here is 60 knots for my short field landing, and the wind is picked up here, so I'm getting kind of bumped around quite a lot. And it's very hard in Flight Simulator to do this. It's hard to fly slow in Flight Simulator, unless you have a good set of rudder pedals, which I don't. So I'm just using the twist axis on my joystick, which means I'm using ailerons to control my direction and not using rudders very much, where in real life I would use rudders at a very slow speed to keep myself lined up with the center line and not rely on ailerons as much. So as we head over the trees, this is actually very realistic. We're getting some turbulence from the trees that's kicking us around. Borderline unstable. You could see how we've got to drop past these trees here, holding the power in, just clearing the trees, gonna kill the power, keep that nose down. Still have our 60 knots, keep the nose down, get ourselves lined up. We're using ailerons instead of rudders, which is the opposite of what I want to do. And miraculously, we're in ground effects. I'm going to put a little bit of power in, keep that nose up, touch of power, hold it, and bring it back off and let it settle. And that actually was not a terrible soft field landing. Now we are at the end of the runway, but this is the longer runway, so the grass field extends quite a bit here. So if we were trying to stay within the runway and not overrun it, we failed. But knowing that we had some extra grass for this longer runway worked out for us. Not quite a short field landing, but an okay soft field landing. I will say as we back taxi, stuff like this I think is harder to do in the sim than in real life because you can't feel anything in the sim. I can't feel sync rates. I can't feel the motion of the airplane. I definitely can't feel ground effect in the sim. So you're trying to visually judge that all of this stuff is happening without having any sort of other sensory input, which makes it a lot harder. This is a nice freeware airport. Check the video details if you want to download it. It hasn't been updated for 2024, so it has some speed bump issues like you just saw there, but it still works pretty good. So this was a longer, more detailed video, but it felt more like a true cross-country, talking you through each step of what I was doing. So I hope you enjoy realistic general aviation content like this. If you do, be sure to click that like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you have subscriber requests, be sure to drop me a line in the comments. I love doing subscriber requests. So thanks as always for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.